Hi everyone, my name is Aditya. Welcome back to the channel. Today it's going to be a very interesting video. I'm going to be talking about Svelte. So I'm not sure how many people have heard of this or are familiar with this new product, but it's a relatively new product and it's been there for a while, and I've been playing around with it, and I feel that it's going to make a lot of changes in this industry, and I feel that it's important to talk about. And since I've been playing around with it, I thought I can share my views and explain what it actually does and how it's different. So first off, what is Svelte, right? So Svelte is it's basically a product for you to build web apps at the end of the day. And I feel that it's the new JavaScript champ or king in this industry, and I'll tell you why. So first, I think to understand what Svelte does, you need to understand its competition, what it's trying to replace or what it's trying to be as an alternative to. So in this JS world, you have three main frameworks or libraries that dominate. One is Angular, the other is React, and the last one is Vue. So in case you don't know, Angular is a full-on JavaScript framework developed and maintained by Google, and React was developed by a person working at Facebook, and now it's being used internally in a lot of Facebook projects, and it's being maintained by them as well. And Vue took a lot of inspiration from React. It's maintained by the community, and it's a third-party library. So these two are a little bit different from Angular. Both of them are like libraries. They're like packages you can add on to your code, or you can base your like code base on and build upon, your front-end JavaScript web apps. But Angular, on the other hand, is a full-on framework. It has all the tools you need to build, modern web application. So because of the way they are, natured, because of the purpose it's trying to solve, Angular tends to be much more larger in size, and the conventions are also very different. So now you need to understand where Svelte comes in this picture. Now, Svelte is something that's like, I feel it's radically different from all of them. It takes the best of all of these different worlds, and at the same time, I feel that the trade-offs are also very limited. So let me show you what's different and what's better. So the first point is Shadow DOM. So if you take React, the reason that it's quite popular is because of something called the Shadow DOM. So DOM, in case if you don't know what it means, DOM is basically the document object model. So any website you open, your browser has something called the DOM, the document object model, and it's basically all the content you can see on the screen. So when you click on a button and something else changes, your browser is changing the DOM, updating the DOM, right? So every time you want to react to something, right? You want to the state of your app changes, and you want to react and show something different. You need to change the DOM. But the problem is changing the DOM, updating it. It's slow and it takes time. So React, what they did is to solve this problem is they started attaching something called the shadow DOM. And in Angular, Angular also has something similar to this, but it's not called the shadow DOM, it's something else. So basically what this is like a lightweight replica of the actual DOM. So when you want to change the DOM, when you want to update your site, the shadow DOM is updated first, and then during the appropriate time, the real DOM is updated. So this helps with the performance of the application and helps in your app, prevent it from being too slow or sluggish. That's something very important. But the reason why Svelte is, in my opinion, much different and better and simple, on the other hand, is because it doesn't have any shadow DOM. Instead of that, they take a simple approach, which is that only update the DOM when you absolutely have to. So if you take React, the React application updates the shadow DOM a lot of times, even when you might not actually need to update it, even when the state of the app doesn't change. So instead of that, Svelte only updates the DOM when the state changes and when absolutely does require it. So you don't even need the shadow DOM anymore. So that's the first thing. Now the other thing is the way Svelte works. If you take React and Angular, you ship your React and Angular apps, along with certain React and Angular dependencies. So it adds to your app size, and it it takes longer for your app to process. Now, Svelte, on the other hand, is basically a compiler. When you ship your app, it doesn't have any dependencies. It takes all this Svelte magic and you build your app. When you build your app, everything gets converted into lower level JavaScript that the native the JS that the browser understands. So your app is much more smaller when you actually build it and ship it for production. No extra dependencies. So it's very lightweight in general, and it's much more performant because of this. The other thing is, if you take Angular, if you remember, I told you that it's this full suite of tools. It has everything. On the other hand, React is very minimal. It's very modular. You can choose what you want and you can build upon. But the problem with this is you end up having so many dependencies and so many third-party libraries, and it's as a developer you need to sit and pick what you need. But Svelte, on the other hand, I feel again this takes the best of both worlds. It has all the tools you need, all the basic default tools that you need. Of course, if you need extra tools, you're welcome to add on to it. But as a developer just starting out, it has everything you need. And having all these tools built in does not increase the size of your app. In fact, it keeps the small, lightweight app intact. Like it doesn't add anything extra because it acts as a compiler. So that's something that I really liked, especially when I was playing around. It has a lot of tools such as built-in state management methods. It has something called stores, which is like observables in Angular or any other JS app. It has inbuilt routing, client-side routing. It has tools for you to create cool animations. So all this stuff is provided to you out of the box, and that's something that's really nice. So I told you about smaller, about it being more performant. And the last point, and this is the most important point, I feel it has a very small learning curve. And I feel that this is much better than both Angular and React. If you compare Angular and React, and the reason I'm not talking about Vue is I've not personally used it. It's just based on hearing what others have to say. But Angular, I have quite a lot of experience building my own apps, and React, I've just tried it out, not a lot of experience. And Svelte, again, I'm working on a few apps right now. So Angular has the most steep learning curve because it provides everything to you, and it has a very opinionated convention or structure that you need to follow, that Angular apps usually follow, and it takes a while to learn all of this. On the other hand, React is very lightweight and simple, but that also has conventions and certain ways that you build your app, and you still need to. There's still quite a lot of learning to do because there's probably going to be a lot of things that you just don't understand. Why does something have to work this way? If you run into an error, it's going to take a while for you to debug and understand why React works in this way, especially for someone who's completely new to web development. On the other hand, I'll show you the documentation quickly. Svelte seems dramatically simpler for anyone to learn. I'm just over here in the Svelte documentation, and you can see this is how a Svelte component looks. It's just a dot Svelte file. You add a script tag as any HTML file has, and all your JS logic goes in here. It can be plain JS or it can be TypeScript also. All the logic goes in here. Then your HTML markup goes directly into it. It can go anywhere into that file, and then you have your styles. As simple as that. It's like it can get simpler than this. And when you want to react to changes in your variables, changes in the state, that's also extremely simple. In fact, I would say that's even more simpler than React and Angular. So it has everything out of the box. And again, you have all these conditions that you can, if cases, if else, all these conditions that you can do in the markup itself. So it has everything that you need, and I feel the documentation is quite well structured. And for beginners, it's probably a really good idea. So all this stuff, I feel that there's no other really good alternative or competitor which does things like Svelte, and I think it's really interesting to see places where it's heading. Another thing to note that is they've come out with another project called sveltekit, which is developed by the same team. And sveltekit is basically a more complete version, so it's based on Svelte. And a good analogy to think of it is it's the next JS of Svelte. So just like how Next.js, based on React, it provides all the stuff like server-side rendering. SvelteKit is basically the same thing, but for Svelte. So it has all of these things, out of the box. SSR, So SEOs are much more better and gives you all these tools out of the box, and it does give you the best of both worlds. So every time you load a page, it's server side rendered, it gives you back the HTML, and then it's hydrated on the client. So this gets converted into a single page application. So you get the best of both worlds, SSR applications and SPS. So that's something that's really cool. And it's just a full package, right? And it's still in beta. That's something to note, but I'm using it in my project and I'm really happy with the way that it's working. And the creator of Svelte, Rich Harris, he has joined Vercel full time just to work on Svelte. So I like the way things are heading, and I feel that there's a lot in store for us. And if you understood anything from this video and if you found it helpful, please let me know in the comments, or if you have any suggestions. So I think this is something that's really important and really cool to learn about. So I hope this video has been helpful and insightful. So that wraps up this video. Thank you for watching.